Piggy, at one time one of the biggest horror games on Roblox that won multiple awards and broke numerous Roblox records. It is simply a game loved by nearly the whole community. One of the reasons Piggy, released back in 2020, did so well is the story. In this video, I will summarize the whole storyline of Piggy. The story of Piggy takes place in a city full of talking animals. You are a police officer investigating the mysterious disappearance of a missing child named Georgie Piggy. But the story begins long before that, before Chapter 1. Georgie Piggy is the youngest in the family. He lives with his mother, father, and sister Penny in a particularly large house. But his grandmother also lives in the same city. Although the Piggy family is central to the story, it all started somewhere else. Mrs. Potato is the first one in the city who contracted a rare and fatal illness called linioma. Her husband, Mr. P, is a local celebrity and billionaire. Determined to save his wife's life, he funds a massive research project to find a cure. The mission is semi-successful, and they create a substance called Substance 128. The vaccine isn't stable yet, but Mr. P pressures the doctors to test it. Mother, father, and Penny all volunteer to try the cure. Initially, the response is promising, but this success is short-lived. It turns out that Substance 128 is not a cure but a virus that takes control of the host's body, turning them into aggressive carriers of the infection. Mother, father, and Penny are the first to become infected, becoming our first villains. This is where our story truly begins. As the infected family members return home, Georgie is asleep. When he wakes up, he quickly notices their strange behavior and runs away from home in fear. Missing Georgie was last seen in the Piggy family's house, so as a police officer investigating this disappearance, your first place to visit is that. When you arrive, you're knocked to the ground by Penny, who then carries you to bed and locks the house down. After you wake up, you try to escape. Unlucky you, Penny is awake too and won't let you escape just like that, she will chase you down. Fortunately, after some tense moments, you manage to escape and decide to head to the station for help. Attention, a monster is in the station, get to the garage now. That's the chilling message you hear over the speaker as you arrive at the station. The monster is Mother Piggy. She chases you relentlessly, but you manage to break through the barricaded door of the garage. Once in the garage, you meet Doggy, a fellow officer from the Lucella Police Department and a close friend. Doggy urges you to bring some gas to fill the car and make your escape. As Doggy drives you to safety, he suddenly asks, "How much gas did you put in the car?" Then, the screen cuts to black. With the car running out of gas, you're stranded in the middle of the city, surrounded by monsters. You see Mother and Father Piggy, along with Sheepy, a researcher who once worked with Mr. P on the cure. You and Doggy have no choice but to dash into the nearby gallery. You barricade the entrance, but Father got inside as well. Because of this, the gallery is not a safe place anymore, and you and Doggy have to escape. After escaping through the back exit, you set off to find a place to until the infection is over. You and Doggy then decided to take shelter in a nearby forest. You get a little nostalgic because you realize that the monsters you're encountering aren't just random city dwellers, they're your friends, twisted by the infection. Doggy suggests you to get some good night's rest. But as you try to sleep, something disturbs your peace. Suddenly, you hear a bark and a sound of drinking. Later, when we get to Book 2, you will find out that what happened that night was a pretty diabolical plan. Doggy was forced to drink a bottle of Substance 128 by Pony to get him infected. When you wake up to check what happened, you find Doggy already infected. And as if things couldn't get worse, Sheepy has tracked you down and is now hot on your trail. After you manage to escape this unfortunate situation, you are left all alone again. But right beyond the gate to the forest, you find a walkie-talkie on the ground. You pick it up, hoping for a sign of help. To your surprise, you hear a voice crackling through the static. After escaping the forest, you finally have some time to catch a breath and find out who is on the other side of the walkie-talkie. The voice gives you a pretty straightforward direction. "My name is Mr. P, and I need you to rescue my friend from the school." If you recall, Mr. P is the local billionaire who funded the research that started the infection. After you find Mr. P's friend, you're directed to meet him in the sewers. Following Mr. P's directions, you head to the school, unaware of who exactly you're supposed to rescue. The teacher, now infected, won't make it easy for you, relentlessly chasing you through the hallways. After inserting a book into a hidden lock mechanism, you find Bunny, Mr. P's friend. Bunny greets you joyfully and joins you as you work together to open the barricaded door leading to the sewers. Upon reaching the sewers and meeting Mr. P, you suddenly start to feel strange and then lose consciousness. When you awaken, you find yourself being rushed into a hospital on a stretcher with Bunny by your side. Bunny reassures you that you are going to be okay before you black out once again. After waking up in a hospital room, Bunny explains that the hospital is no longer safe and that you have to escape immediately. You're naturally curious about why you fainted and how long you've been out, but Bunny avoids answering your questions. While trying to escape, you two encounter Barry, who used to work as a doctor in this hospital and was also working on the cure for linioma. You and Bunny work together on an escape, and if you give her a carrot, she can stun Barry for 20 seconds, giving you a critical window to move forward. After opening the fire exit to the roof, where you were supposed to meet with Mr. P and his helicopter, you find out he already left without you. You then decide to find another exit. But Bunny seems a little sad about what happened. She stays motionless. Concerned, you ask if she's coming with you. She hesitates, then says yes while glancing at a note from Mr. P. After Mr. P leaves you and Bunny behind at the hospital, you decide to head down to the metro station underneath it. Your plan is to fix the train and escape by it. Bunny, still shaken by recent events, isn't able to help much this time. As soon as you reach the platform, she leans against a pillar, stating she needs to rest. While working on fixing the train, you encounter Zompiggy, a special mutation of infected piggy that has risen from the grave. Despite the danger, you manage to get the train working. That's when Bunny reveals why she's been acting off. She confesses that Mr. P gave her a bottle of Substance 128, and she drank it, not knowing what it would do to her. Having become real friends, you're heartbroken and reluctant to leave her behind. But you know deep down that you have to go. You say the last goodbye and she wishes you good luck. With a heavy heart, you board the train that leads to the Carnival, leaving Bunny behind. After discovering what Mr. P did to your dear friend Bunny and the other infected, you're determined to find him and put an end to his twisted experiments. Knowing that Mr. P owns the vast carnival, filled with circus tents and roller coaster rides, you believe it's where he's hiding. After escaping Clowny, you don't find Mr. P, but instead, you encounter two other survivors, Zizzy and Pony. Pony is wary and suspicious, convinced that you might be infected, but Zizzy, a zebra, reminds him that the infected can't talk. Zizzy explains that they're searching for other survivors because they've found a safe place from the infection. Suddenly, another infected, Foxy, appears behind you. Pony initially thinks Foxy is a friend, but Zizzy quickly senses danger and identifies Foxy as infected. Without hesitation, Pony knocks Foxy out with his wooden sword. Zizzy then warns you that the carnival is far from safe and insists that you all need to head to the safe place immediately. After leaving the carnival, Zizzy and Pony guide you to the city where their safe place is located. From the rooftop of one of the buildings, you spot the safe place. It looks well fortified, but it may be a little too inaccessible now, as the gate is blocked and on fire. You have to navigate through the abandoned city to find a way to unblock the gate. While doing so, you encounter an infected duo, Ellie and Grandmother. Zizzy is particularly helpful during this task, as she can stun the infected piggy for 20 seconds if you provide her with grass. After finally escaping, you three decided to get to know each other a little better. You share your story. You are a police officer looking for Georgie Piggy. Pony reveals that he was studying to become an optometrist like his father, and Zizzy explains that she was a fencing coach. At this point, Pony and Zizzy are unaware of Mr. P's sinister actions. When you explain to them that he has been giving out potions that turn you into the infected, they offer their help without hesitation. Suddenly, your conversation is cut short by a noise coming from a nearby dumpster. Sensing a potential threat, you and Zizzy move to investigate while Pony stays back, wishing you good luck. Immediately after the events in the city, you and Zizzy follow the noise coming from behind the dumpster. You glimpse a shadowy figure and track it to a nearby mall. Upon entering, you find the figure has barricaded themselves in a storage room. To make matters worse, the mall is patrolled by an enhanced security droid with a chainsaw arm, programmed to eliminate unwanted visitors. The mall's ventilation system is extensive, but you can't use it to avoid the droid, as an infected mouse lurks within the vents. After a tense struggle, you manage to unlock the barricaded doors. Zizzy demands the stalker reveal themselves. And to your shock, it turns out to be Georgie Piggy. Georgie looks terrified, and you ask him what happened. He explains that after his family visited the hospital, they started acting strange, so he fled home and came to the city to find his grandmother. However, she and the other city residents began behaving just as oddly as his family, forcing him to hide in the mall. Zizzy then prompts him to come with you to the safe place. Georgie then asks if he will ever see his family again. You promise him that you will find the person who did this to them. After that, you three go to the safe place where you meet the rest of the squad. Zizzy, Pony, Giraffe, and Mimi. Pony then reveals that he has tracked Mr. P's helicopter signal, and you decide to follow it. But not alone, as Pony and Zizzy join you to stop Mr. P once and for all. You, Zizzy, and Pony track Mr. P's helicopter signal to a military outpost. The outpost is infested with infected soldiers and a mysterious figure known as Torture. Upon entering the military plant, you discover that Georgie has followed you, since he wants to see a person responsible for the infection of his family. However, Georgie's presence attracts dozens of infected soldiers. Pony and Zizzy bravely offer to hold them off, allowing you and Georgie to press on and find Mr. P. As you venture deeper into the facility, you finally encounter Mr. P, but he is a cyborg now and has replaced one of his arms with a gun. But something is off. Mr. P's mind seems fractured. He believes that you and Georgie are mere figments of his imagination, tricks played by his tortured mind. It's time to get answers. He says that he only wanted to be left alone, but that the memories still haunt him. He tells you and Georgie that you are as stubborn as he was when he tried to save his wife. But since you got this far, he will stop you like he should have stopped himself. He then disarms his gun, and, together with one of Mr. P's researchers, Badgie, will hunt you down. You must locate dynamite to blow open barricaded sections of the facility and find something to snap Mr. P back to reality. You find a photo of Mrs. P, his wife, bringing him to terms with his own actions. He finally believes that you are real and did not die back in the hospital. Mr. P then starts explaining his actions. But Georgie doesn't want to listen. He only wants to hurt Mr. P, since he is the direct cause of the infection of his family. You intervene, telling Georgie that hurting Mr. P won't make him any better than the man he despises. Mr. P then decides to redeem himself by stopping the infection. Here, the timeline splits. You can either go with Georgie, leaving Mr. P behind, to meet Zizzy and Pony. Or you can stay with Mr. P. What would you do? If you decide to leave the plant, you find Zizzy and Pony alive, having finished off every soldier in the outpost. Unsure of where to go next, Georgie's face lights up with the idea of finding a cure for the infection. In the credits that follow, Mr. P is nowhere to be seen, implying he has died. If you decide to stay with Mr. P, you beg him to come with you to find the cure together. But suddenly, Badgie appears behind you and attacks. Now it's time to dive into Book 2. This part not only pushes the storyline forward but also reveals bits of the story regarding the events from Book 1. Many characters stay the same. We will work together with Zizzy, Pony, or even Georgie Piggy. But as we explore new locations, we'll also meet new characters and uncover hidden secrets that shed light on the story we lived through earlier. Throughout our journey, I'll sometimes take you back to remind you of key moments from Book 1 whenever the story has a retrospective part. This way, we can connect the dots and understand the full picture. And right from the first chapter of Book 2, we're taken back even before the start of Book 1. You have a flashback of an arrest that you and Doggy made before the infection. That's the arrest you two were talking about after escaping the gallery. In this flashback, you are tasked with arresting Willow and Rash, two thieves who have been stealing food and other supplies from all around the city. You finally locate their hideout and prepare to go in. You first try to catch Willow in the alleyways while avoiding getting caught by Rash. Once you manage to corner Willow, she begs you not to arrest her, explaining that she needs the food and supplies to take care of her family. Meanwhile, Rash discovers that his friend is being taken and tries to surprise you from behind. But Willow dissuades him, saying that it isn't worth it. After completing the job, you feel conflicted about arresting people who are only trying to survive. You and Doggy then have a conversation about how this is just the way things have to be and that sometimes, there's nothing you can do about it. Suddenly, a white flash ends the flashback, bringing you back to the events following the end of Book 1. Z, Zizzy, and Georgie are playing tag outside the safe place, while Giraffe and Mimi can be seen gardening some plants in the background. Pony asks you if you are coming along. The flashback distracted you, and you totally forgot what the plan was. So you ask, "Where?" Mimi then comes closer and asks if you remember the old radio you all found during one of the supply runs. You then ask if the radio will be working, and Mimi says that it's nearly ready, but she needs some batteries for it. Zizzy and Pony then ask if you would like to go to the store with them to get the batteries, and you agree. You, Zizzy, and Pony are in a store, searching for batteries. While there, you encounter a deer named Dessa. She couldn't catch you, and you three make it out alive with the batteries. After you return to the safe place, Mimi and Giraffe are standing next to the radio. Although everyone is happy you're back, Giraffe is a bit displeased, having lost a bet with Mimi. The bet was that you wouldn't come back before noon. The loser had to cook for the rest of the week. Mimi uses the batteries to restore the radio. At first, no one answers. But eventually, a voice comes through, claiming to be Settlement 6 speaking. They say they are looking for communities to trade with and would like to meet up. Without hesitation, you ask for a place to meet. The mysterious voice directs you to meet their group at Old Oak, a small forest near town. Pony is very reluctant to go due to past experiences with other groups. Zizzy agrees with Pony, advising caution and urging not to put too much faith in them. Despite this, Pony joins you and Zizzy in meeting the mysterious group. When you arrive at the forest, no one is around. But Pony was right as the meet turns into an ambush. Suddenly, Willow appears, along with Tigray, Pandy, Kitty, and Bear, surrounding you. Willow walks up to Pony, revealing that he was an ex-member, saying, "It's a shame that you left us." She then continues with her monologue, blaming you for arresting her back in the alleyways. Willow is clearly the leader of this gang, ordering them to take Zizzy and leave the rest to rot. Pony starts to run to Zizzy, shouting for Willow to leave her alone, but Willow whips out her revolver, telling him she doesn't want to hurt anyone. Pony then reveals to you that the group is called the Silver Paw, a criminal group that is the heart of the story in the second book. Pony is terrified for Zizzy, and with no time to go back to the safe place for backup, you decide to chase after the group alone. Soon, you and Pony arrive at the Silver Paw base, which is an old oil refinery. Although Pony doesn't recognize this settlement, he assures you that you should be able to find Zizzy and escape. In the refinery, you and Pony have to be really careful not to be spotted by the members of the Silver Paw and navigate the long hallways and unlock the holding cell Zizzy is held in. Unfortunately, Zizzy has been held together with the infected. Although she enjoyed battling them, she then notices a little scratch on her arm from an infected. Realizing she will become infected too soon, she tells you and Pony to go without her. But Pony doesn't want to leave his friend behind, stating they will find a cure for her. Zizzy, however, remains rational, knowing there's no cure. If there were, they wouldn't be in this situation. Pony gives her one last hug and leaves with you. When just you two return back to the safe place, all other members of the squad are patiently waiting. When they glance only you and Pony, they remain staring silently. They understand what has happened without a single word being spoken. Left alone, Zizzy resolves to fulfill her promise, to sabotage and cause a distraction at the Silver Paw's refinery. Her plan is simple but dangerous: blow up the entire refinery. While doing so, she has to battle not only her infection, but also her memories. She starts getting hallucinations of strange creatures and also of her sisters, Z and Zizzy. She manages to plant 3 dynamites that successfully blow up the entire refinery. After doing so, she even manages to escape. But then meets Tio. Tio tries convincing Zizzy to join him. When questioned why she should, he starts talking about his past. In an effort to convince Zizzy to join, he creates a hallucination of Pony. Zizzy then gives in and a mysterious arm pulls her into somewhere. Some players believe that Tio explains how some infected suddenly disappear and teleport to different places, suggesting that it can control the infected. Willow and the members of the Silver Paw did not like what Zizzy did, so they came to sort it out in their own way. You are sleeping when suddenly you are woken up by the sound of an explosion. Georgie is right beside your bed, urgently telling you that you need to get out immediately. The safe place is under attack. One infected is already in the building. He's right behind your heels, but you manage to rescue Mimi, Pony, and Giraffe and escape together with them. Z and Zizzy are nowhere to be seen, as they escaped through a vent shaft. As you and the rest of the crew meet outside, you find yourself confronted by Willow and the rest of the Silver Paw, who shot a rocket into the building. Willow tells you that because of Zizzy's actions, all of the members had to be relocated elsewhere, which caused some trouble. Willow then orders to capture all the residents and put them in a makeshift cell in a factory, which is presumably one of the Silver Paw's outposts. After the group is put into jail, the group starts to apologize to Pony for not taking his suspicions about the Silver Paw seriously. After spending a whole day in a rotting cell, Z and Zizzy pop out of the sewer lid inside the cell. Looks like their bigger sister Zizzy taught them well. They ask for help to open the cell from the outside. You decide to go and help them, while other members stay in the cell, since if just one leave, the guards may not notice. However, the sewers are guarded by an infected crocodile, Alphys. After you manage to navigate through the sewer maze, the sisters decide to go back to the safe place to get some things while you go back to the surface to open the cell and help other members escape. Tigray notices the escape and is about to throw his dagger to thwart your plans, but he hesitates, deciding not to act in revenge for how badly Willow treated him. Willow then pushes past Tigray, calling him a useless tiger. She aims her revolver and shoots at Pony. But Giraffe heroically dives in front of Pony, taking the bullet and saving his life. You prompt others to help Giraffe get out of the place while you and Pony have a standoff with Willow. Fueled by deep anger, Willow agrees to settle this once and for all. Willow, aiming to make things more interesting, decides to give you and Pony a head start since she has a gun. She fires her revolver into the air, shooting a light, making the scene pitch black. You and Pony then work together to save members of the Silver Paw. Depending on how well you two do, the timeline will unfold differently. If you decide to save none of the TSP members because they were not nice to you after escaping the factory, you see Willow raising her gun at you. Zizzy yells to look out before Willow shoots, but you don't have enough time to react, and Willow kills you. If you save just some or all members of the Silver Paw, you and Pony come outside together with them. Willow then appears, clutching her shoulder. She raises her gun at you and prepares to shoot, but Katie, one of the TSP members, begs Willow not to do that as you and Pony save hers and others' lives. Z and Zizzy appear and yell at you to look out. Willow is confused by random children being there and asks who they are. Tigray takes that moment of distraction and throws a dagger at Willow's gun, disarming her. Willow then admits defeat after seeing Zizzy's sisters, filling her with deep regret to what she did to her. Willow then tells the uniting group she heard radio broadcasts from the military about a possible cure for the virus. You and others don't want to fall into the same trap again, so you are a bit suspicious. But Willow says that she will go with you and you can keep her weapon. The united group sets off to the north, seeking the cure. But one member is missing. Tigray stole Willow's tugboat and wants to take the cure for himself. Mimi then points out that the lighthouse could help the group find a nearby ship that could take you there. So you, Pony, and Willow go to power the lighthouse. Once the beacon is on, a huge ship called the Medora arrives at the port. The group boards the board and meets Captain Budgie. They explain her how they need to cross the North Sea. Budgie then comes up with a deal. If the group can get the fuel from the lower levels of the ship, where her infected crewmates are, she will take them to Doveport. In the hold of the ship, you and Willow are ambushed by 4 infected crew members. But you manage to avoid them and reach the green crate where the fuel is without harm. Or at least you think so. But as you get inside the small fuel room, an infected crewmate approaches from behind and locks the door with you two inside. While locked inside, you and Willow finally have time to make peace with each other. After a while, the rest of the group grows concerned about your prolonged absence. They open the container and free you and Willow. Interrupted by the sounds of explosions, the group hurries back up to the deck, where Captain Budgie informs them that they have arrived at Doveport. After you and the group get off of Budgie's ship and down onto the docks, you discover that the tugboat is already in the port, meaning that Tigray is one step ahead. When you make it through the docks, you discover a large hallway consisting of 2 bridges held above a large pit. On the opposite bridge, you can see Tigray. Tigray attempts to convince you to abandon Willow and join him instead. But you decide not to trust him. As Tigray leaves the passage, Pony arrives, asking what he missed. You fill him in, and Pony expresses how he trusts Tigray and would take the offer without a blink. The whole group then makes their way to the surface, where you are unpleasantly introduced to Robbie and Kona. Robbie introduces himself by jumping at you and pinning you down to the ground. But he does not intend to attack you but rather wants to take you inside to safety, as the military actively detonates explosives in the zone to stop the infected from reaching the outpost. Kona is the engineer responsible for creating Robbie, a robot made for personal protection. Mimi has known Kona for years, as they went to the same school of engineering, where he studies robotics. He then encourages the group to go through the exit under his home, joking that it's even more dangerous than outside. He allows the blue-eyed robot Robbie to travel with the group and gives Mimi a portable radio so the group can keep in touch with each other. You and the team head under Kona's lab to escape. You and Robbie go down first into the pathways which lead through an ancient temple, which is protected by an infected spider named Spadella, who chase you around. After getting the temple door open that leads to the surface, you starts to feel a little off and the world around you gets dark. You suddenly appear in a dark dimension, just like Zizzy did back in the refinery. The mysterious figure, Tio, tells you that you are very unique. That you are immune to the infection, which explains how you survived the attack at the Piggy residence. Tio wants you to join him. When asked why you should, he answers that he can help you see your friends again, but you smartly decline. In the blink of an eye, you are back in reality. Pony informs you that he had also seen Tio before and that he tried to recruit him by offering Pony to see his family again. The group then proceeds towards a military camp, as Kona reports that something strange is about it. Kona continues to communicate with the team through the walkie-talkie, telling them that the outpost ahead has, in fact, been quiet for some time. After you and Willow unlock the elevator to the bunker, Pony has a secret to tell. He reveals that he tried to infect you and Doggy back in the forest because the Silver Paw forced him to do it. But as we now know, only Doggy got infected as you are immune. You fill up with anger, but Georgie reminds you that hurting someone because they hurt you does not make you any better. That's what you told him when dealing with Mr. P at the plant. When the group makes their way down to the bunker, they split up to find the cure. Willow then meets Tigray while he is placing dynamites in an attempt to stall them. Tigray insults Willow, causing them to brawl. You try to separate them from each other, but without success. Willow then grabs Tigray in a rear choke, and just as Tigray is about to fall unconscious, the explosives go off, separating you from the rest of the group on one side. As the ceiling of the lab collapses and you are left alone, a shadowy figure can be seen in the window. That's Penny Piggy you encountered as the first infected at the start of the story. Penny seems very disfigured, and it looks like she can teleport around the map while she chases you. She was probably used for some sort of science experiments to create the cure. As you make your way through the lab, you see Tigray and Willow fighting again. You can choose who to help. Depending on who you save, the dialogue will roll a little differently. But there's also a hidden ending. When you get to the room with the cure, Willow and Tigray are already there and fighting. They don't want to listen to you telling them to stop and continues their argument. Suddenly, Mimi interrupts the talk, telling the group to come outside to check something. As you walk out to the daylight, you see a military jet landing with multiple soldiers on board. Sergeant Monroe then starts talking about how they received a distress call from civilians and also mentions that Tigray was once a part of the military but deserted and Willow is an infamous criminal on the loose. Suddenly, a bunch of infected rise from the ground and Monroe orders his team to start shooting the infected. While others are extremely busy protecting themselves, you are brought back into the dark dimension, meeting Tio once again. TIO hates the idea of the group saving the world from the infection and tries to talk you out of this. TIO mentions that free will is destructive. Mr. P destroyed the world because he had free will, and now your actions will cause more destruction as thousands of survivors will fight over the cure. You disagree with TIO, which makes him furious, transforming his normal appearance into a distorted one. The whole group is then teleported to their memories, trying to stop them from proceeding further. In his memories, Pony is battling his father. Georgie is in their family house fighting with Penny. And Z has to suffer looking at her older sister Zizzy as she slowly turns infected. You then get an idea of defeating TIO from the memories. While living through the memories of Gallery, Hospital, and the mall, you give weapons to your memories of Bunny, Doggy, and Zizzy to knock out TIO. After a while, the TIO is defeated, and you all return to reality, where Sergeant Monroe and his team have just finished the infected army. Willow then apologizes to Tigray, and they leave together to the distance and the story ends there. In the post-credits scene, we can see Zizzy uninfected and healthy, meaning the cure worked. The camera then zooms out and into a mysterious void, suggesting that TIO may not be dead after all. But to answer this and other questions you may have, we need to wait for Piggy Intercity or future Piggy episodes.